Excuse me. Hello again from the Hall History, and today we're looking at the Great Depression, and actually we're going to look at a little bit more on the stock market side. Crash really took place in October of 1929, and as you can see from the slide here, stocks going up, small little dips, but for the most part going up, and then all of a sudden it crashed, rebounded, and they just started getting lower and lower and lower. This is the activity you've been doing, your 10-day activity, to try to give you a little bit of what was going on at the time. What was the crash? Well, you can read this for yourself here. In September they begin to decline, but Tuesday, October 29th, 1929, called Black Tuesday, the bottom fell out of the market, and all of a sudden everybody's trying to start to sell, to try just to get anything they could out of the stock market. I was listening to the news this morning, and they're saying last week the stock market did not do very well. They're wondering if it's going to be a correction from 2013. So we'll have to see on that. Well, after it crashed, the economy just went into the tank, and millions of people were out of work. Now, this Great Depression lasted from 1929 to 1941, or it just so happened at the beginning of it ended at the beginning of World War II. That's a story for a little bit later in the course here. And again, as we talked about before, ask your grandparents, that lived through this time, what it was like living during the Great Depression. Well, what the causes, many of the old industries really just started to fall apart. We talked about some trade coming in from overseas, the crisis in the farm sector. The farmers couldn't pay their bills after they took out all the loans, to get more crops, more machinery into play during World War I. It was easy credit. Yeah, people were willing to send, lend people money because the stock market just, kept going up and up and up. Also, we talked about the distribution of income, where the very top 1% were just raking in the dough, and so it was really inevitable that the stock market would just take a nosedive. The effects of this, just millions of people put on the street that didn't have a job. And these signs, at the time were all over. People were willing to do anything to make some money. The effects of the Great Depression, people started pulling their money out of the banks. Well, banks, as you can probably guess, didn't have enough currency to cover everything that people were trying to pull out. It was also noticed at this time suicide rates went up. People lost everything overnight. There was a lot of speculation going on in the stock market, and all of a sudden, when the bottom fell out, people lost everything. Shanty towns popped up around the larger cities. People lost their homes. They had to have some place to live, and so these shanty towns just popped up. The banks closed. People tried to get their money out of the bank. The banks couldn't cover it. The banks also invested in the stock market. Everybody thought it was going to keep going up. The banks had loans going out. All of a sudden, people can't pay off their loans. And interesting, in 1929, 659 shut their doors, and by 1933, 6,000 banks were closed. Remember the financial crisis we went through a few years ago? Quite a few of the large banking institutions went out of business. And it's interesting, there was no federally insured bank deposits like there is now. I can't remember what, you might be insured up to $100,000 or so. I can't remember what the exact figure is, but back then you put it in the bank. If it was gone, there was no federal backing that a bank would pay you back at all. You just lost your money. Businesses struggled. Again, we talked about this earlier. Businesses would go bankrupt. There's nobody to buy their products. Nobody buys the products. businesses can't make any money. Unemployment went out of the roof. Shows here by 1933, 25% of the workforce was out of a job. I think the current unemployment rate is pushing around, it's around 7%. But it's interesting, at this time, if you would factor in people who just quit looking for work, our unemployment rate is probably more realistically around 15% or so.